Yowawachtus, Dachanialis Glakwas Gilwax. My name is Glakwas Gilwax, also known as Copper Canoe Woman, also known as Vina Brown. I am a scholar, a mother, a business owner, an adjunct professor. I am now recently the founder of a nonprofit called Rooted Resiliency that I founded with one of my best friends. We have an all Indigenous woman board. We are really excited because our nonprofit is all about restoring our communities back to holistic wellness, to healing, to the reclamation of anything that we need to be well. And that's what we ask our participants, who are all mostly Indigenous people, when we do our workshops is, what do you need to be well? And we get to define that in this modern context in this day, which leads to my solution. I really want to create an Indigenous wellness app where it's a one-stop shop for everything Indigenous wellness. For me, for example, as an Indigenous person, I need my family, I need my culture, I need my language, I need my traditional foods, I need our songs, I need our dances, I need the land, I need the water, but I also need meditation and movement. And I've been using other apps for many years now, meditation apps. I'm a yoga instructor by trade as well, a trauma-informed yoga instructor. And so I really believe in the somatic healing power of movement and meditation. I've experienced it in my own body, but I've also witnessed the experience of that in other people's bodies. I've done hundreds, maybe even thousands of yoga and wellness movement workshops in our Indigenous communities, and I've seen it over and over again. When people's nervous systems get regulated, that's when the healing can happen. It's really hard for our people to function when we're carrying all this trauma in our bodies. So we need tools. We need tools and skills to help us function, and bring us back to wholeness. Our ancestors understood that. We had kinesthetic, somatic healing practices that are so evident in all of our ceremonies. From the movement to our, in my culture, we do this thing where we brush ourselves off with branches. I know other cultures do it too in the East, where they'll move and they just kind of let things go. We physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually move things out of our body, from our body, and in our mind, bringing our mind back to wholeness and restoration and peace. So my practice every day, I use the Calm app. And I've been using this app for a long time. I also do YouTube videos for meditation. But one thing I'm constantly getting from my workshop participants is like, we want to do this every day with you. And I just can't do it every day with people. Like, I have other things going on, but I want to. So I've been really thinking about this, like this issue of not having enough accessible, culturally relevant Indigenous movement and meditation resources for our people. So we're at a trigger. You get triggered, something comes up. You have intergenerational trauma, you have complex trauma as an Indigenous person. What are your coping mechanisms? Do you have healthy coping mechanisms? What do you have? Do you use community? Do you use counseling? Is it a mix of cultural and Western, Indigenous and Western? There's nothing wrong with that too. And so we want to provide, by bringing in as many Indigenous leaders and thought leaders on these topics onto this app. And so it wouldn't be exactly like the Calm app, but it would be something like, but it would even go deeper. Like, we would have food cooking demonstrations, we would have language revitalization demonstrations. It would be a resource that other Indigenous leaders and wellness leaders could use to in their workshops. We would have content that people could download, and we'd want to update it as much as possible and bring in as many Indigenous people who are doing this work in their communities as possible to help them distribute and disseminate their information and knowledge. And I see this as a huge solution for all of the negative impacts that we're facing in our communities. The high suicide rates, the disease, the chronic disease, the pain, the cancer, the diabetes, the hypertension, the violence, the MMIP, murdered and missing Indigenous peoples epidemic, Feel like if we had just more regulated nervous systems, we would have more space and capacity to deal with the problems and issues that we're seeing in our community around our health and wellness. And so for me, I just really, really, really wanted to bring the solution to solve and pitch this idea because I really believe in this app. I think that it could one help me. I think it would help my clients. I think it could be something that could help so many people globally, and it's a way to create safer spaces for Indigenous people. So it's a way to teach non-Indigenous people how to interact with our culture in a culturally appropriate way. It's a cultural appreciation app, so it also could be a way for allies to support us. I would want it to be free to Indigenous people, but if non Indigenous people wanted access to it, they could pay a fee like you would for any other paid app. And that money would go directly to keeping the app running and keeping it sustainable. And so that's my solution is let's create an Indigenous wellness app that includes all of our knowledge systems, our pedagogy, our Indigenous theories, and brings us back to wholeness. Well, Gayasika, thank you for taking the time to hear me. I appreciate you. Istikwali.